Welcome to Lendonia Absolute Financial Solutions, to another segment of updated information that we pass along to you regarding COVID-19 related financial relief programs. As we move through this crisis, I want to make sure that I get you the most credible information. I even co-opt with a law firm of Laws Law to make sure that we assist you in both the financial and legal aspects of moving through these unprecedented times. Today's topic is going to be economic injury disaster loans, or EIDL loans, as they are sometimes called. For those of you that follow my page, you may have watched a segment I did on payroll protection programs, abbreviated PPP. This is somewhat of a similar loan, even though, unlike PPP, it is not administered by the banks. This is something you apply for directly through the Small Business Administration. So let's dive into some details, some similarities, and some things that, in fact, are different for the EIDL loan. As far as eligibility, it is pretty similar to PPP. It still is for businesses under 500 employees, even though in some cases, larger entities are also able to apply if they meet certain size standards. Self-employed and independent contractors are eligible under this loan. There's been some mysteries and different opinions about this, but they are eligible, as are the tribal agricultural co-ops and some non-for-profits. As far as the loan terms you can expect, maximum loan amounts for the EIDL loans are $2 million. The loan terms are pretty favorable. It's a 30-year loan at 3.75, which is a good rate for a business loan. And that applies for businesses, 2.75 if you're a non-for-profit organization. There's no personal guarantees required with this loan unless the loan exceeds $200,000. And there are no real estate collateral requirements. However, in most instances, when possible, Small Business Administration will want to take a security interest in some business property. Once you get this loan, what can the funds be used for? Similar to PPP, you can use those funds for payroll, but in addition to payroll, in addition to rent or mortgage expenses, you can also use it for supply chain interruptions and very broad definition of obligations that your business is not able to meet because it is experiencing a setback due to COVID-19. As far as qualifications are concerned, the good thing is there's no specific length in business that is required. So you could have started this business 6 months ago, and you are still eligible to apply and be approved for this loan. Tax returns are not required. In some cases, you may prefer to use tax returns, or SBA may ask you for tax returns to document certain expenses that you're claiming you want to include in the EIDL loan. But as a requirement per se, tax returns are not required. So how does SBA make a determination if you are approved or not? Well, primarily based on your credit history, on your credit score. Now, if you have applied for the EIDL loan prior to February 15th, because unlike PPP, the EIDL loans have existed for some time. They're not the creation of recent days as dictated by COVID. They have been around. So if you have applied for such a loan prior to February 15th, can you reapply with some guidelines that have changed under COVID-19? And the answer is absolutely, absolutely yes. Another question that I get quite often when we talked about EIDL loans is the EIDL grant. So clients are asking me, is this just another free money out there? I'm hearing I can get a grant for $10,000. I don't have to repay it. What program is this? So the EIDL grant is actually not a separate program. Your EIDL grant is actually a part of your EIDL loan. It's simply an advance of the anticipated idle loan funds disbursement. And the $10,000 myth is that the $10,000 is a cap for that advance. In actuality, it is $1,000 per employee. So let's say you did apply for a $50,000 idle loan and you have 5 employees, you can get an advance of $5,000. Now, if you had 15 employees, your advance would only be $10,000 because the $10,000 is the cap for the idle grant. Now, pretty nice thing about it that there's no separate application for you to file. Technically speaking, the language of the program says you need to request it within 3 days of applying, but in practice, there's simply a box on your application, on your idle application. You check that box that you want to be considered for the idle grant, and that's all that that's to it, basically. A very good provision of that idle grant is the fact that it does not need to be repaid, even if the large loan you applied for, your $50,000 idle loan, let's say, gets denied, but you took an advance of which we just spoke, that advance is forgiven. Now, if your advance is forgiven and you happen to have a PPP loan, then that forgiveness of your idle grant will be subtracted from the forgiveness you can receive under the PPP plan. When I talk to my clients about this, there seems to be some confusion. People are saying, well, Peter, does that mean I can have both of these loans? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can and you should apply for both the PPP loan through your local bank, as well as the idle loan with the idle grant directly through SBA. Now, some things you need to be aware of. There are some rules of how the funds must be used from both of these loans. So in general, if you have the 2.5 months worth of payroll that you applied for got approved under the PPP, you kind of can't mix and match these funds within the same month, but you can layer them. So in other words, what you can do is you can pay your employees for 2.5 months using the PPP funds. And when those PPP funds run out, absolutely, you can just pick up your idle money and use that money to continue funding your payroll, keeping your people employed, if that's something you choose to do. So hopefully that clarifies the usage of funds. In terms of the application process, when should you apply? Well, like with the PPP plan, unfortunately, the money ran out very, very quickly out of this program. But the reason we're talking about the program is that I firmly believe the money is coming back. The government is negotiating. They're very close to securing additional funds that will continue to allow for applications being taken, disbursements being done for both the PPP and the idle loan. Now, I did go on SBA website this morning. I verified that the applications for idle are not currently being taken. As far as the PPP, there are some banks that are actually encouraging you to apply for PPP, so do that and make sure your application is in queue once the second round of funding gets secured. But SBA, as of this morning, not accepting the idle loans applications. So I hope you'll find this information useful. Please email me with any questions of financial nature, questions of legal nature. You can reach out to Attorney Loza. We're here to help you. And if you want to participate in a live webinar, we hold those several times a week. Also send me an email. I will be more than happy to give you an invite and welcome you to a group discussion on this and many other programs. Thanks again. Please stay healthy, stay safe. All the best to you and your loved ones.